About your team today, a little Packer action. Can you still root for the Packers? Is it hard not to just root for the Packers?
I really don't root for any specific team.
Good job.
Yeah, nicely said, Greg.
I told him well.
Very
He's an
good.
expert on the Packers.
Absolutely.
But I don't root for no one.
I like it.
I root for a bunch of teams. I got an AFC team, an NFC team. I got some players.
Yeah,
Well,
you can do that.
Your pocketbook
But when you
is
cash,
involved.
when you cash checks from organizations, yes, there is a connection. But I'm cashing these checks, so my connection is with Fox.
Without question.
So typically I have to criticize them.
Gotcha. All right, here we go. Dear Aaron Rodgers and Ezekiel Elliott, no pressure or anything, but can you come back and win every remaining game for your respective teams? Aaron to the Packers this week, Zeke to the Cowboys next week. Both big returns, both teams at 7-6. Both need to win 3 straight to make the playoffs. So the Packers face the Carolina Panthers. Won't be that easy. Cowboys face the Raiders. Also probably won't be that easy. Greg, who is more likely to make the playoffs? The Packers or the Cowboys? Obviously factoring in the big assets they're going to get back.
Okay, let's just say they get help from everyone.
Oh, they need a lot of help.
Because they need a lot of help.
Clearly.
Both teams, I like the remaining Dallas Cowboys schedule for them. They have Seattle at home, which Seattle is a completely different team on the road. When you look at the Packers, they have Carolina away this week,
right?
Minnesota at home, and then they go to Detroit, another team that is ahead of them,
yes,
with 7 wins, that it can come down to that last game.
And has given Green Bay problems through the years
in Detroit. And so, and there's a huge but, one team gets their guy back this week, being the Green Bay Packers, and the other team has to wait 1 more week, being Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys. With that said, I have to go with the Green Bay Packers, because when you look at even the Carolina Panthers coming off a win, Cam Newton typically plays a little different. If he was coming off a loss, I would give the advantage, and I still kind of give the advantage to the Carolina Panthers, but I trust Aaron Rodgers.
What you're saying that Cam Newton coming off a win is not going to build on that momentum.
He typically doesn't have a monster game.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't have a great game.
No.
He didn't have a great game last week.
No, they just got the win.
Absolutely.
Right.
They got the win.
Run, yeah.
Yeah, Greg makes good points as far as who he would take. Green Bay, they get their star back this week. Dallas' season could be over before Zeke is reinstated.
Right.
They could lose in Oakland. 7-7 there, that's a wrap. It's Wrap City. He can come back and play, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, their season will be over with. So, huge advantage. Also, Dallas has the worst head-to-head. I mean, Dallas is the 10th seed now in a in a 6th seed playoff. So, I mean, they need Jesus, a few other miracles to happen before Ezekiel even gets back. I mean, does Green Bay have a tough schedule? I mean, if you're a betting man, the numbers are in Green Bay's percentage. Also, it's the player in Aaron Rodgers. How many players he's going to make better immediately, and he gets to do it this week. He gets to affect the team this week compared to waiting another week. So Green Bay is definitely more likely, but neither one of these teams is going to make the playoffs. We're going to the playoffs without either one of them being there.
So Chris's point about the tiebreakers is an important one. Like if Dallas finishes at 10-6, it's very unlikely that if there's just one other team at 10-6, if they're 10-6 and I don't know, say the Packers are 10-6, well, guess what? The Packers go. If they're 10-6 and the Falcons are 10-6, well, guess what? The Falcons go. So those tiebreakers now matter. Now, obviously, Dallas can get the tiebreaker with Seattle if they end up winning that football game. I'm struggling with this similarly to what Greg was, because one team obviously has the harder schedule. Green Bay has the hardest remaining schedule in football. They have a 9-win team this week. They have a 10-win team the following week, then a 7-win Detroit team. But the reality to me is this. The Cowboys over the last month have been exposed to a degree that I think even when Zeke comes back, they're going to pay some penalty for it. I think we thought teams were focused on stopping Ezekiel Elliott before. now that they've really seen, maybe I was a man on an island, but I bet there are some teams in the league, some coaches in the league that thought, like, at least similarly to how I thought, which was that, man, Dak Prescott can beat you now. And now that we've seen a month of it, that clearly Dak Prescott is not a guy right now in his career that you have to really be concerned about him going out and beating you. We thought they were focused on stopping the run before. They're going to, when Zeke comes back, if there was 8 men in the box 70% of the time, that's about to be 90% of the time. And not just because of Dak, but because we've seen over the last month, it's not that Dez Bryant needs to get back to what he once was. Dez Bryant is never getting back to what he once was. And so I think the Cowboys are so much easier to game plan against even when Zeke gets back than what the Packers will be. And the other thing that hurt the Cowboys is this. I don't think Philly's going to have the 1 seed locked up anymore. Not that Nick Foles is the quarterback now. So Week 17 in Philly is not a game that is going to be thrown away like Week 17 the Cowboys did last year when they were 13-2 and they rested guys. Like, you're going to be playing 2 teams after Oakland in Seattle and Philadelphia, one that's fighting for its playoff life, the other that could be fighting for the 1 or the 2 seed. Like, I don't see Dallas getting to the 10 wins, so I see the answer is the Green Bay Packers.
Greg, if teams now are seeing exactly what's missing on this Cowboys team and that maybe it's not just about Zeke and about Dak, how is that any different than what's happening with the Packers? I mean, yes, their running game is a little bit better, but all you got to do is go in. They've seen how they've been exposed. Just go in, do everything you can to make sure you're making things as complicated as possible for Aaron Rodgers. I know it seems easy on paper. I know that, but it's not like anyone else has really stepped up the same way no one's really stepped up with the Cowboys.
Well, it's different when you're talking about the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers because they've experienced not having a running game and still have had success, still have gone to the NFC Championship, still has been to 8 consecutive years of playoffs. So we've seen them have success without a running game. Even if they have a fraction, let's just say they have actually half of the running game that they've experienced the last few weeks, that makes them even a bigger threat. But to your point with teams playing who are already playoff bound, but still having to play at the end of the year with the Eagles. When I look at the Green Bay Packers, next week they have, and I'm not trying to look over the Carolina Panthers, but let's say they take care of business.
Right.
They have Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings this week have Cincinnati Bengals. They take care of business there. Minnesota now has a 12 or 10, 11 and 3 record. Yep. They would have clinched their division. We don't know, again, with Philly, they could still get the 1 seed.
Right.
So they're going to play. So it's going to be a tough road for both of these teams. And when you look at the tougher road, who would you rather have at the helm? Because the quarterback position is everything now. Right. Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Greg, stay with us. Coming up, Tom Brady's mad. Should the Steelers